Today's lesson is two-step equation word problems. Our goal is that we can solve word problems that require the use of two-step equations. As always, pause when you need to get something down. I'm going to keep going at a fairly brisk pace, and you just pause as needed. Example. 331 students attended a school field trip. 6 buses were full of the same number of students, and 7 students traveled by car. Write and solve a variable equation to determine how many students were on each bus. So step 1 is to identify the unknown quantity in the problem and assign it a variable. So for this word problem, the unknown is how many students are on the bus. So for us, it's the number of kids per bus, and the variable that we will use is B. The next step, 2, is to determine the necessary operations to solve the problem. So if you look at this problem here, we have, I'll change colors, 6 buses full of the same number of kids, 331 students, and 7 students that are traveling by car. So if we think about that, I'm hoping you guys are thinking that we're going to subtract the kids in the car to give us the number of students that are on the buses, and then divide by the number of buses. So then we get to our final step where we write the equation and solve it for the variable. Now here's the hint. Think about your inverse operations when you're writing your equation. So the first step here, to get our equation, we're going to do 6B, or 6 buses, plus the 7 students in the car, are equal to 331 kids. To solve this, we're going to subtract our 7 students out of the buses. We're left with 6 buses containing 324 students. We divide the 324 students by 6, or the 6 buses, divide them up, and we're left with 54 kids per bus. So there's that problem written out. Make sure, as I always say in class, to copy down the equations. That is the most important part of all of our lessons. So you have those examples, and the way I'm showing you is the way I would like you to be doing them, because it's going to help you in future math lessons. All right, moving on to our next problem. You bought a magazine for $4 and 5 erasers, which cost the same amount. You spent $5.50 total. Write and solve a variable equation to determine what the total cost was for each eraser. So you've got 5 erasers plus $4 for the magazine gives you $5.50. So hopefully you can look at that and see the equation fairly easily. Is 5e plus 4 equals $5.50. We subtract the $4 from the magazine, and it leaves us with 5 erasers equaling $1.50. We divide by 5, and we're left with each eraser costing 30 cents. And our final problem, a student spent half of her weekly allowance on music downloads. To earn more money, her parents let her wash their car for $4. At the end of the week, she had $12. Write and solve a variable equation to determine how much money the student earns as her allowance. So let's think about this. She's got half of her weekly allowance on downloads, and she gets $4 from her parents. At the end, she's got $12. So I chose, partly because it's hard to type fractions, to do 5/10 as my half. You could also use just half, the fraction half, but I know you guys probably prefer this over the fraction. So 5/10 times A for allowance, plus the $4 that her parents gave her for washing the car, and she's got the $12 left at the end. So 5/10 A plus 4 equals 12. Subtract the $4 to see that 5/10 A is equal to 8. Divide by the 5/10, and you've got her allowance is $16. So she gets a $16 allowance. All right, hopefully you got your notes down, copied your problems, got the gist of the word problems. Obviously, I don't expect you to have copied them all, and I will see you in class next time.